Julian Williams was a decisive underdog going into this fight. Former world champion. But the first thing that stands out to me when you're looking at his record recently is that the man has only fought 4 times in the last 4 years. Now, one of the things that I've always said is that if you're only fighting 1 time a year, once every 18 months, something like that, you are a part-time fighter. Part-time fighters don't operate at the highest level of the sport. Okay, it just is what it is. You need to be more active than that. You need to stay more relevant with your craft if you're going to go out there and you're going to decisively dominate at the highest levels. Now look, that being said, Julian Williams is a former world champion for a reason. He's got a smooth offense, man. When he's at his best, he fires off some good combinations, moves around well on the outside, knows how to lead, knows how to counter. He's got some good timing with that right hand, knows how to work the jab well. You know, the problems that he's had has had nothing to do with his offense. Now, look, we can see right away, as soon as he comes out in this fight, he decides he's going to be the boxer. He's fighting. He's moving on the outside. He's working the jab. And he looked good. I mean, he was landing some good, solid shots. I mean, look, I didn't make a prediction video about this one, but my feeling was that any success that he was going to have was going to be early. He doesn't necessarily have the best chin. And my thought was that, you know, Adames has got some power, some explosiveness, some good combination punching, and that eventually all of that was going to catch up with Williams. But early on, that he was going to be able to see some success. And watching this fight, I think that's exactly what we saw, right? Particularly in that 3rd round, man. I would say that was when he really got after it. I mean, he comes out in that 3rd round, and we saw J-Rock, man, get some good work done. Landed a good right hand, caused Adames to stumble. Williams is able to follow up with some combinations, man. He's going out there. He's just getting after it. Now, look, he wasn't beating Adames from pillar to post or anything like that. As a matter of fact, by the end of the round, we saw Adames ripping some good shots to the body, landed some good hard shots of his own. So it was a little bit of back and forth, but make no mistake about it, that 3rd round was clearly and decisively a round for Julian Williams. It was one in which he got some really good work done. Now, that being said, the 4th round was just as decisive for Adames, man. He comes out there and he just started putting some shots together, man. He had Williams in all kinds of trouble, battering him all over the ring, got him in the corner, just landing power shots up and down, working them. And after that 4th round, we didn't see Williams moving around on the outside anymore. We didn't see him using that movement. We didn't see him working laterally. This was a fight that, you know, the complexion of it changed at that point, man. And these guys didn't exactly fight in a phone booth or anything like that. But for the most part, they were right in front of each other, just using small circle movements, pivoting here and there, little bits, backing up, stuff like that. But there was no more of the movement that we saw prior to that. Now, from the time the first bell rang up until about the midway through the 6th round, Adames was fighting southpaw. All of a sudden, about midway through the 6th, he switches over to orthodox. As soon as he does, he's able to get some good work done. And I mean, he just starts ripping to the body, man. I mean, he was landing some just ferocious body shots in that 6th round. And you start to get this picture, you start to get this feeling of exactly what I was thinking. You start to think, man, Williams was looking good, but it was early in the fight. All of a sudden, one thing leads to another, and we're starting to see the tide completely shift from what it was. 4th, 5th, 6th. Man, we see Adames getting some real work in. He's working the body. You know that with the kind of shots that we see him landing, guys don't typically come back from that, right? You're starting to think in your head, it's going to be hard for J-Rock to turn this around after he's out here just getting pummeled to the body the way that he is. But lo and behold, man, that is exactly what we see, right? 8th round, Williams starts moving around again. It's like he's catching his second wind. He's starting to get on his bike again. He's starting to land a little bit more shots. He's starting to look a little bit strong. It's like, dude, the 8th round was by far the best round that we had seen for Williams since the 3rd. And then lo and behold, just like we saw Adames come back in the 4th, he comes back strong in the 9th, right? And then we see what we see. We end up seeing this stoppage. Now look, we see Adames go out here and get off a flurry of punches. And make no mistake about it, Williams was hurt. He said he was hurt. His coach, Breadman, said he was hurt. Everybody knew he was hurt. Everybody in the arena, everybody watching, the announcers, everybody knew that this man was hurt, and he was getting punches landed on him, right? He was getting beat. He was getting battered. But that doesn't necessarily mean that fight was supposed to be stopped. As a matter of fact, that ref jumped in at the absolute most inopportune time, because it was exactly after Williams had thrown a punch. Now, if you're looking at the rules, I'm paraphrasing here, but it says something to the effect of the referee is supposed to save a man when he can no longer defend himself. That's not what you think when a guy's throwing punches back, right? That's typically one of the indicators that we use. Are you fighting back? Are you intelligently defending yourself? Right? And refs will use little tricks. They'll look at your eyes and they'll see if your eyes are tracking. Because if you get hit with a really big shot and your eyes roll in the back of your head, you're not going to be able to defend yourself. The ref can jump in there. If you get hit with a really big shot, but your eyes stay clear and focused and they're still tracking your opponent, that's a man who's still with it. That's a man who can still intelligently defend himself. So there's little tricks that refs pick up over time when they're trying to really pay attention. They don't want to get caught up in the ooh and the ah, the crowd going wild. It's their job to stay level-headed and really attempt to determine what is going on with the opponent. Now look, he was getting caught with some shots. He was hurt. I think it was a premature stoppage as soon as it happened. The announcers kind of hinted at that, but let me say this. I have never seen a coach go off on a ref about stopping a fight the way that I saw Breadman go off on this dude, man. He just absolutely let him have it. He was just going out there saying all kinds of unkind things about him. He was talking to he was calling him names, saying all kinds of things that you wouldn't say in front of your children, all kinds of things that you wouldn't want somebody saying in front of your mother. I mean, he was talking about this man very badly, saying that his judgment was very poor, asking him how there is no way in the world that this fight should have been stopped. You are a complete bum, right? And I'm being kind, just paraphrasing here. But that's how egregious it was to Williams' coach, right? And Williams kind of felt the same way in the sense that he was talking in the post-fight. He was a little bit stunned by the whole thing. Again, he was getting beat. He was getting battered, but we've seen a lot of poor jobs refereeing. We've seen a lot of poor stoppages. Sometimes we see them by renowned referees like Tony Weeks just recently with Rolly Romero and Ishmael Barroso. I mean, think about how bad that stoppage was. And then all of a sudden we see this one here, which is in a way kind of what Breadman was getting at, because one of the things that he said was, this is something typical that we see of the A-side fighter. Look, my guy was going out there. He was starting to turn it around. He caught his second wind. Adames, the guy who Breadman is referring to as the A-side fighter, he was getting winded. He was getting tired. My guy was going to come on. He was going to win this fight. The ref had to jump in there to stop it, right? He's insinuating there's corruption. He's insinuating that there was something more to it. He's insinuating that the promoter was potentially going out there and getting the referee to stop this fight before things got off the rails and the A-side fighter lost. Look, it wouldn't be the first time that a man has accused somebody in the sport of being corrupt. I don't know anything about that regarding this fight in particular. What I will say that I do know is that my eyes told me that was a bad stoppage. I looked at the replay. They told me it was a bad stoppage again. I was there at the Rolly Romero fight. I watched it. Bad stoppage. Watched the replay. Bad stoppage. Like, everybody in the arena was going crazy. Everybody knew that it was a poor stoppage. You look at this one, you kind of feel the same way about it. Just, I don't know, man. It is what it is. It's something that we've become accustomed to dealing with, and that's kind of how things go to a certain degree, I guess. We'll have to see if there's any kind of investigation, if they file some kind of a complaint, if it's looked into. Typically, those go absolutely nowhere. But who knows? Either way, at the end of the day, we saw Carlos Adames as a very skilled fighter coming out here. He ends up coming away with the victory. And it'll be interesting to see what's next for him, right? It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here, what kind of fights he ends up getting. He's a very skilled fighter, man. He's out there. This was his second fight working with Bob Santos. So next, now they'll have some more time to work together. I love the way he uses the jab. Love the way he goes to the body. Love the way he slips that straight left hand in there. I mean, he does a lot of good work. And make no mistake about it. Even though I'm talking about how J-Rock has only fought 4 times in the last 4 years, we're talking about a man who's a former world champion, and he's not old. This wasn't a 40-year-old fighter. This wasn't a guy who was some bum and out of shape. This was a former world champion who came out there and looked like a man who was still fighting at a very high skill level. So it is what it is. We'll have to see what's next for each man. What did you think of the fight? What did you think about the performance that Julian Williams put on? What did you think about the performance that Carlos Adames put on? And what did you think about that stoppage? Let me know what you guys think.